All right, there's this midfielder at Monaco. You may have heard of him. Right now, he can break up play like a defensive anchor, he can spray 50-yard diagonals like a quarterback, and he can deliver corners that feel like set plays were drawn up specifically to humiliate goalkeepers. Lamine Camara. Let's get into it, man. Liverpool won him, Newcastle won him, and there are whispers from Madrid and Inter Milan. So I'm hoping by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why so many top teams are after this midfielder and whether the hype is actually justified or if it's just noise. So if you've watched my previous video talking about Lamine Camara, you already know that he's come through the Generation Foot Academy in Senegal, the same pipeline that produced players like Sadio Mane and Pape Sarr. He then only spent one season in Ligue 1 with Metz, literally just one, and that's all it took for Monaco to come calling back in 2024. Adolf Hutter, he played in a double pivot with Dennis Zakaria. Yeah, remember him? His job was to be the creative engine whilst Zakaria swept up behind him. Now, under the new Monaco boss, he's been given more license to arrive into these dangerous positions, more of a box-to-box, more aggressive, something that he's always had in his locker, but now he's being able to show that on a more consistent basis, especially because the manager's tactics has allowed for that. I'll be real, you're probably seeing one of the most complete midfield profiles in Ligue 1. And he's still so young. And I'm going to go out on a limb and probably say it's one of the most complete profiles in Europe. Let's start with what makes him genuinely unique and why I feel he's got one of the best profiles out there in Europe, because this is the bit most people probably will miss when they're analyzing a player like Lamine Camara. He's a defensive midfielder who produces like an attacking one. Corner kicks in his locker, free kicks, in-swinging, out-swinging, delivers them like a midfielder who moonlights as a set-piece coach. That's not normal for a number 6. That's not even normal usually for a number 8, if we're being totally honest with you. In tight spaces around the penalty area, he plays first-time flicks and through balls that look simple, but they're not. He knows where his teammates are before the ball arrives. That's football intelligence, not just the technique. You know, sometimes you watch these clips and it's always going to be difficult to try and gauge how good really a player is unless you've watched him good few times in the season. But sometimes I feel when I do watch Lamine Camara's kind of compilations and clips that they put out of him, sometimes I don't feel like it does him that much justice. Even when you're looking at, some of these set piece deliveries, he's putting in, is that going to be useful for your team? And the long passing with that right foot, that outward fade, he hits the winger's path perfectly. It's almost that kind of Kevin De Bruyne-esque in how he uses that right half space to click balls, into that kind of wide area. And he seems to have that specific move in his locker. What I will say as well, don't be fooled by the flicks, the round the corners, the passing ability, because that might make you start to think that this guy is a bit of a flair kind of player, because I don't feel that he is. Not to say, of course, he doesn't have that in his locker, but I wouldn't put him in that kind of category. Defensively, his tackling technique is elite. He uses his long lower legs and specifically his hips to unbalance opponents and hook the ball away very, very cleanly. I also don't want to underestimate the ability he has to be able to snuff out the danger, be able to see when the opposition are on the move, be able to understand the position he needs to then be in, to then be able to intercept and then get Monaco kind of moving forward. Again, a very underrated skill and probably something that most teams, especially in the Premier League, are going to need. Now, listen. As much as I'm showing you these clips, and again, compilations are always difficult if you've never really watched the player. Every player has weaknesses. I don't care who you are. Unless you're named Lionel Messi, you definitely have a weakness within your game, even if it's just one. With someone like Camara, I think one of the things that I've noticed, especially from the clips that I've watched of him, is when he is ball carrying in open space, I do feel that he does struggle a little bit when there's room to just kind of run at a defense. Sometimes he will hesitate. He'll slow down and try and recycle the ball when a better player drives into that kind of space. His long legs can cause him to take slightly bigger touches at pace, which defenders can exploit from time to time. Even though, as you guys can see on the screen, the passing, he's good at intercepting the ball, he's good at the anticipation. But that is one thing that I do look at about Camara and just think, if you can just, add that, maybe would I say a little bit of confidence, maybe, just to, or maybe even just the manager to give him the license to be able to do a bit more of that, because I feel that you do have it in your locker and you can do it. You just need that, would I say, motivation to kind of do so. But that is definitely one thing I look at with someone like Camara and think, yeah, he definitely needs to just sort that part of his game out. Now, one of the other things that I did look at with Camara is his passes into the final third. You guys can see from this graph here, he places in 52nd at the time of this video, and he's even lower than players like Zabini, on the list. Now, again, you could attribute some of that to, tactical elements of what the manager is actually asking him to do, but he has got an 85.5% pass completion rate, for a player playing in his position. And I just feel that, again, this is where I go back to him being somebody who just can do just a little bit extra and maybe add a bit more to his game, because, as I say, with that 85.5% pass completion rate, he does have that in his locker. So it's not a case of he can't make passes, it's just the type of passes that he is making. He's not really driving the team forward, would I necessarily say, with some of his passes into the box. But again, he can do those passes, every now and again. So it's just really about the case of doing it a little bit more. Maybe a different team, a different manager, and maybe I'm just nitpicking at this point, but a different team might then require him to do that a little bit more, and he'll be able to showcase those talents. But I do think it's something that he does need to potentially look at if he's looking at trying to become a better player. So what is my verdict? Well, listen, I think he's definitely one of those midfielders. He's the right kind of age profile. He is actually a profile that I think quite a few teams, especially in the Premier League, could easily use. He has attributes that I feel could easily enhance most of the midfields in Premier League, even looking at some of the top teams like an Arsenal, like a Manchester City. I definitely think a team like Liverpool would definitely be looking at someone like him to potentially play alongside either Ryan Gravenberch or an Adam Wharton if they were able to get someone like him in the team. Maybe even a Newcastle, I know they're interested in him. They definitely would help with their midfield. I think he's definitely a player that top teams should be going in for this summer. But again, listen, I'm not the one who writes the checks. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section as to whether or not you believe Lamine Camara is a player your team should be signing in the summer. And if you haven't watched the Yan Monday breakdown yet, it's up on the screen. Make sure you smash that like, share, same energy, different story. See you soon. Peace.